Let's get more on the markets now. I'm joined by Chris Conway from the Australian Stock Report out of our Melbourne studio. Chris, good afternoon to you. Welcome to the program. Looking at the markets today, it is nice to see us bounce back into positive territory, although we're only up by about 3 points. Do you think we'll be able to hold on to it?
Good afternoon, Ingrid. Look, hopefully we can hold on to it. I think the big reason for the bounce back today is firstly the gains that we've seen for ANZ. When I came into the office this morning, SPI futures were pointing down about 15 points. Once the ANZ numbers dropped, that blew out to around 30 points, maybe even more. ANZ, of course, opened much weaker and has rallied. And I think, as you mentioned in the lead up there, everyone's taking away the sale of the life business. So I think that's the reason why ANZ is being cheered. But absolutely nice to see some resilience from the Aussie market, because it has taken a fairly hefty beating down in recent times.
Resilience, though, maybe a little optimistic there, Chris, because we're only up 1 point. I mean, the question is, here and now, we're waiting obviously on the US election. That's the key macro event that the world is waiting on for next week. Do you see us moving much higher anyway before that result is known?
No, I don't think so, and I'll just pivot back to a conversation you and I had last week, Ingrid. I laid out a bit of a market map of where I was thinking the market might head, and my suggestion was that in the lead up to the election, we would probably retrace in the 52 to 5300 region, and at the bottom side of that range, obviously towards 5200, might present a buying opportunity. So that, of course, has happened. It has happened a little bit earlier than perhaps even I was expecting. Of course, the election not until next Tuesday, the 8th of November, of course, US time. But given the uncertainty surrounding that event, in direct answer to your original question, no, I don't see us pressing much higher. I think we really hold and move sideways from here. I think the whole world is waiting to see the outcome of this election, and rightly so. And just to put into a little bit of a context what we've seen in the US recently, of course, you know, some headlines this morning about the 7-session losing streak that we have seen on the S&P 500, the longest since 2011. Again, to provide some context, the pullback that we've seen over the past 7 sessions is only about 2.5%. There's been 92 occasions since 1928 when we have had a similar 7-session pullback, and the average pullback over those 92 occasions is around 6.5%. So, look, a really shallow pullback that we're seeing in the US, and I think that's evidence of the fact that everyone still thinks Clinton will probably win, but they're starting to hedge for the fact that she might not.
Okay, and so if she wasn't to win, because obviously, as you mentioned, the polls are looking a lot closer now as we edge closer to the actual date of the election, what do you think will happen to markets? I mean, will it be chaos if Trump gets in? What sort of reaction will we see on equities here at home?
Look, I think that shallow pullback that I was just talking about, the 2.5% over the last 7 sessions, is evidence of the fact that a Trump victory is probably not priced in, at least in terms of an historical context. So whilst people have been hedging and taking some risk off the table, I don't think they've fully committed to a Trump win. Hence why, at the point of impact, and this is again something that I stressed last week, at the point of impact it's likely to be pretty ugly, a la Brexit. But in the cold light of day, I mean, Wall Street does what it does. Wall Street, I don't really think, cares whether it's Clinton or Trump. They probably prefer Clinton because it's a known. Whereas with Trump, there's a little bit of uncertainty. But at the end of the day, they wake up, they eat their breakfast, and they go out and they eat what they kill. That's what Wall Street does. So I don't think long term it will have that much of an impact. But yeah, at the point of the decision, I think it could be probably a fairly hefty sell-off that we'd see in the US should Trump win. As for what that means for us locally, I would not be surprised to see us dragged lower in the maelstrom that would follow a Trump victory.
All right, well, we'll watch closely, and of course all eyes will be on that election. Wednesday, our time, we'll get the results, so that will certainly be interesting. In the meantime, Chris, let's talk some local news, because obviously we've said ANZ came out with its number. You briefly mentioned it before, the stock up about 1%, but also watching BT today with a really nice rally. What did you take out of this one?
Look, we're holding this stock. This was a position, again, that we talked about last week, Ingrid. It was very nice to see a strong set of numbers today. As you said, again, in the lead-up, a 4th consecutive record profit, cash profits of 156 million, which is up 18%. Management fees up. Really doing everything exceptionally well, and I listened very closely to Emilio Gonzalez, who was interviewed at 11 a.m. on your show, saying the reason why they have been able to outperform is because they have a very broad-based and diversified book that, of course, some parts haven't been performing, but other parts have picked up the slack, and we all know fixed income has been one of their big revenue generators. They continue to attract FUM. I think they're managing their book exceptionally well. And like I said, very nice to see, again, because we're holding the position, very nice to see a good rally today. I think it will continue as well. I think this is a stock that could be sort of mid-tens at the top of its run.
So you wouldn't take profits on this. You see more upside from here.
Yeah, no. Well, to be perfectly honest, we were underwater before the big pop on the only slightly, but we were underwater. And obviously, we have back. So yeah, look, now at the position that we hold is presently in profit, but we're not interested in taking it off the table. We think further upside will come.
All right, Chris, we might have to leave it there with you, but really appreciate your time on the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Ingrid.
Chris Conway there from Australian Stock Report joining us.